Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving straight into how a massive 2,000-year-old philosophical concept perfectly describes exactly what you did during your morning routine today. Let's get right into it. Picture this, because we've literally all been there. You wake up, you grab your phone off the nightstand, and before you even sit up in bed, hours have completely vanished in a blur of forgotten content. You scroll, you watch, you like, you share, you consume, and when you finally look up from the screen, you've seen 100 different things, but you can't remember a single meaningful one. Now, the immediate reaction is this heavy, sinking feeling of guilt, right? You blame yourself. You think your willpower is just incredibly weak. But what we're going to explore today is actually an incredibly liberating realization. Your lost morning is a meticulous, highly engineered design. It's not a failure of your personal discipline.
Section 1. The Morning Scroll Illusion, Trapped by Design.
So to understand this trap, we have to trace a massive historical leap. We're talking about the incredible contrast between the analog antiquity of 380 BC and the hypermodern tech boom of the 2000s. Over 2 millennia before the very first screen was ever lit, a philosopher named Plato detailed a scenario in ancient Athens that perfectly, almost eerily, predicts our present day. We go from 380 BC, where the Allegory of the Cave was born as a pure thought experiment, fast forward to the 2000s, where Silicon Valley engineered the first invisible algorithms, right up to today. This shift from physical philosophy to invisible code is a monumental pivot in human history, where the modern attention economy has literally turned our screens into the digital walls of a new kind of prison.
Section 2. Plato's Ancient Cave, Prisoners of the Shadows. Let's travel back to ancient Greece to understand the foundation of this original trap.
In one of the most powerful and enduring allegories in all of Western history, Plato asks his students to imagine a dark, damp cave. Deep inside, innocent prisoners have been physically chained by their necks and legs since the exact moment of their birth. They're entirely immobilized, forced to look only at the blank stone wall directly in front of them. Imagine the sheer physical limitation of that. Behind them, a massive fire burns brightly, casting intense heat. Between that blazing fire and the captive prisoners, figures walk along a raised walkway carrying various objects, projecting giant, flickering shadows onto that blank stone wall. Because these prisoners have never been able to turn their heads, because they've never seen anything else in their entire existence, they mistake these dancing, flat silhouettes for absolute reality. They don't know their shadows. To them, this is the entire universe. They give the shadows names, they debate their movements, and they build their entire culture and lives around these illusions, never once realizing there's a vastly truer, three-dimensional world happening just out of sight behind them.
Which brings us to Section 3, the modern digital cave, shadows on the screen. Now think about the truly chilling parallels between that ancient world and our modern one. In Plato's world, it was wooden figures and a physical, crackling fire that created the illusion. The chains were made of heavy iron, and the prisoners were held back by innocent ignorance. They simply didn't know any better. Today, well, the fire is invisible algorithmic code written in the quiet offices of Silicon Valley. The walls of our cave are the glowing screens in the palms of our hands. And the most shocking difference is the chains. Instead of being locked up by force, we're dealing with voluntary scrolling. It's engineered attention. We walk into the cave, sit down, and willingly hand over the keys.
You see, this whole digital mechanism relies entirely on the fact that you are an emotional creature. Behind you, driving the projections on your screen, there's no physical fire, there's that invisible code. And these algorithms observe your behavior relentlessly. Every single like, every half-second pause, every time you linger on a video, it acts as data that learns from your every move. It feeds a continuous loop to project the exact digital shadows that will hook your attention. And what they've discovered is that the shadows that keep your eyes glued to the wall aren't the accurate, nuanced truths of the real world. A boring, highly logical article? That gets scrolled past in a millisecond. But an inflammatory, rage-inducing headline? Oh, that provokes emotion. That keeps you staring for sure. The system is explicitly built to select content that will enrage you, terrify you, or completely validate you into staying right where you are.
Section 4. Trapped in filter bubbles, the illusion of truth.
That continuous loop of emotional engagement, it brings us to the concept of the filter bubble. This is a personalized information ecosystem where every single piece of content you see has been selected to reinforce your own beliefs. But the absolutely crucial thing to understand here is that this isn't serendipitous. It's cold, hard, mathematically calculated to keep you comfortable. Because of this brilliant math, you rarely encounter something that truly challenges or contradicts you. You never see the world as it actually, messily is,
but rather exactly how the algorithm has mathematically determined you want to see it, shielding you completely from the friction of reality.
And that leads directly to a much broader cultural impact known as the post-truth era. It's a cultural climate where the distinction between truth and falsehood becomes completely secondary to the force of emotion and identity. In this environment, we no longer ask if something is true, we just ask if it confirms what we already believe. The more saturated our screens get with endless information, the easier it becomes to remain happily locked inside these cognitive bubbles. We get swept away by how things feel and how they appear, rather than doing the hard work of verifying if they're actually real.
We have allowed popularity to masquerade as truth. Remember, Plato's prisoners were completely innocent victims of their ignorance. They had absolutely no choice. But we live in the digital cave voluntarily. By allowing the sheer comfort of the algorithm to eclipse genuine wisdom, we have actively given up the quest for truth in favor of whatever gets the most likes, the most views, and the most share.
All right, Section 5, Stepping into the Light, the Pain of Reality.
Now, Plato's story doesn't just end in the dark. It continues with a prisoner who is suddenly freed and forced to turn around and walk toward the light of the sun. But the process of stepping into the light is blinding. It is intensely painful at first. The outside world feels sharp, strange, and entirely unbearable after a comfortable lifetime of looking at dim shadows. But slowly, steadily, their eyes adjust. To do this ourselves, we have to reclaim education and real dialogue, which takes immense, active effort. We need to practice the moral courage to question the very feed we're holding. Practically, we must try to distinguish the complex truth from digital shadows before every single scroll. This requires us to intentionally seek out silence. It means embracing slowness. And honestly, most importantly, it means fostering unmediated face-to-face relationships, sitting in a room, having an awkward, unfiltered conversation with another human being without a screen doing the translating for you.
Look, leaving the digital cave doesn't mean turning off your phone forever, tossing it in a river, and becoming a hermit in the woods. It simply means remembering, at all times, that behind that glowing screen is a fire you do not control. Today, the greatest act of rebellion is not to shout louder into the void of the internet. The greatest act of rebellion is to think clearly. It's the quiet, disciplined refusal to confuse your personalized social media feed with the actual truth of the world. The true philosopher knows those shadows are just projections, and they dare to turn their head. The algorithms have made sure that we're in the cave, so the only question left is, do you have the courage to put down the screen, look away from the shadows, and walk toward the light?